Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the panelists for the excellent presentations. We have heard great information, excellent data, figures, and in-depth analysis from their world. If we think back of the previous industrial revolutions, everybody thinks that, fine, that was a great achievement of the mankind. But now we think a little bit that, okay, this fourth revolution is going to take away jobs, having challenges with trainings and resources. So a little bit of afraid what is going to happen with the society with us. Can I get a quick survey from you? Who is cheering the new Industry 4.0 revolution, and who is kind of afraid of that? Thumbs up, who is cheering it, and thumbs down, who is a bit afraid. Yeah, most of the audience is cheering it. Excellent, very good. We are very, very optimistic. Now we have a panel who is coming or consisting of people who is selling the machines who are going to take the jobs away from the people. There are people who are selling the softwares to make the whole system more practical. We have got a representative of a company who is going to buy the systems and who is going to lay off all the people. We have somebody who is involved in artificial intelligence, who is taking away even the thinking and the decision-making from us. And we have got a gentleman who is analyzing the whole thing and helps us facing this black reality. Besides the humor, yes, we are optimistic of this. And in the next panel discussion, we would like to address a couple of questions in this. The first thing what most of the presenters mentioned is that how can we make the change, and who is the biggest stakeholder? Who should be the biggest task to drive the change and put resources into it? Is it the government? Is it the market players? Or somebody else? So the first question to run around, and I know that John has got a very good view on this, just a quick run, that who do you think is going to be the driver for this change and the trainings and the society impacts?
Okay, so just testing first of all, the microphone's working. It's a partnership. I believe it's a team game. I'm a very big fan of football. I support Arsenal. And to be honest, I don't really care who scores the goals so long as Arsenal win. You know, it can be a defender, it can be the attacker, it can be the midfield, it can be the goalkeeper. But I think we all have a part to play. So often we kind of point the finger at each other. So as a large company, we are very dependent on the quality of the resources being produced and put into the marketplace. That means education. As a father of 2 teenage children, I see some of the stuff they're learning at school, and it's really not relevant for what I would need in a broad range of jobs. You know, it's just not relevant. But outside of school, they are learning on their own digital capabilities. So if we could bring that curiosity and that kind of digital native ability into a more formalized structure, I think we could scale up the educating of a new generation, which we in our companies could use. That's an educational responsibility, but I think companies have a big responsibility as well to invest in young talent, to give them the opportunities, to mentor them, and to work together because we have similar requirements for the future, for 10 years' time. And government need to kind of shepherd this and make wise decisions with regard to the allocation of European funding, for example, and help us as a partnership.
Thank you. Thomas, you're coming from Siemens, same kind of giant as GE. Do you share the same opinion?
I would like to point out the education. That I believe that connecting to the previous comments, that we need a very stable basic education concerning mathematics, physics, and languages. nice communication. And after we as a company, we can add additional knowledges at the beginning. But if this kind of language knowledge in this kind of basic is missing, is a critical point. We cannot compare this. But we can train them, we can educate our colleagues according to our industry languages. It's our job because there are lots of changes, so it's a very, very big mission. But we realize that we have to spend more money, more time for trainings and education. It's no question, it's our job, but the basic is very important for us as a multinational company.
Excellent, thank you. Just to go by the line, Peter, you as hiring and training these very kind non-IT people, what is your view on that?
In my view, in education actually is that I can see a lot of talented people on the market. So I'm optimistic from the point of view that young people are open for new technologies. They're eager to learn and they would like to improve themselves, which means that we have no problem from the integrators' point of view to find the workforce who can help us to implement this project. The big challenge, and I've seen it in several slides, is in this change actually, is that how guys like me, I'm 43 years old, so how guys like me can be able to change. Because for us, even for me, leading a company who is trying to be leader of this change, how we can learn these technologies, how we can adapt. And I can see, or I can say that, yeah, we are even in the front line of that, but people in the countryside, and to reflect back to this, I've been coming from the countryside actually, and I can see that the countryside is not yet affected by most of those technologies. So a lot to be done, these technologies to be on the actual end of the line, and then the very basic people.
Got it, thank you. Marek, your presentation was containing a part which was talking about new innovative ways of taking or handling this issue. Where do you think these innovative ways should come from? Who should initiate these changes?
Yeah, well, I agree. It's a partnership, and we have to be thinking how to actually design these partnerships. But before addressing this question, I would like to make a few comments actually. As you might see, the automation will change completely the way how we actually operate our economies. The things which were not possible to be automated will be automated. That's a huge change. It's not only about repetitive tasks. We're really moving kind of to much more adaptive systems. So this will completely change. Really things and lots of people still think are not possible to be automated, they will be automated, okay? That's the first thing. We should be having this on mind when kind of like thinking about potential solutions, even thinking in terms of the partnership potential solutions, and asking the governments to move ahead. The traditional, and I've been working on the innovation policy in my past life, and the tradition would be education, public investment into research and science, better infrastructure, better general conditions for the business, etc., etc. I think we need to move beyond this actually. We really need to open much more. And I'm really glad I don't have now my hat of my previous job, which was the advisor at the Department of Education in the Ministry of Education in the Czech Republic. Because it's really a huge job to change education, and really we might want to address it differently. And I give you an example. We've been looking for people to work with us on these real life AI applications. And there's basically nobody. We really have big difficulties to identify people because there's a very small number of students who are studying the subject. So people who studied at the university level, this very small number of them. But more and more we're having guys who actually learn themselves. They just took the Coursera course, they just studied themselves. And we didn't believe them at the beginning. But now we have a guy and he knows everything. He never studied at the university, never. So I'm coming to a word which is motivation. And we need to be thinking actually how to motivate people to try to gain the skills which will be useful. And probably the schools, and this is the other reason, the automation, the pace of change will be very quick. It will be much more quicker than we actually expect, and I'm positive about that. And the schooling system, we cannot change. I mean, I've been trying. It's a really difficult job. So we need to be thinking about different ways. I'm happy to come back to my last slide, but now to my last slide. But now I think really we should be thinking in terms of motivation and helping people to actually identify what is the potential future, because we don't know. That's the other point.
Excellent, thank you. If you see the panelists are making notes, so lots of thoughts are there already, so it's going to be a good panel, I'm sure. Lastly, you said that governments are the ones who should drive these. What are your thoughts on this?
I hope I didn't say that the government should drive it.
But there was a
totally
strong point
agree.
on that, as I remember.
Yeah, I totally agree that it must be a partnership. And all the successful stories in the world economy showed that only partnership works. 500 years ago, it was the government policies in England which helped them to develop their textile industry. They just stole the technology from the Netherlands, and then they stopped exporting basic material. It is the same now for China, but if you look at the iPhone, which I'm using now as a note, a desk to note, all the most important parts of iPhone, Siri, GPS, mobile net, touchpad, microchip, was developed for DARPA. It was a state development. So states and economic policies are very, very important parts of this partnership. And I just wrote up 7 points how governments can contribute to this partnership and help the business and help their citizens to prepare for this change. The first and foremost is to develop basic and key competencies. Actually, European Commission and OECD is creating guidelines for that. So we have good practices from which we can learn. Poland, Finland, actually Poland and the Visegrad 4 countries, Finland, Holland, England, some parts of the United States, they already developing such kind of curricula which helps to develop key competencies, digital competencies, which help us, which secure us that our young generations will be capable of the change, to digest that change. The second, that I think governments will somehow exit from education to a certain extent and stay there as a quality controller and an agency to approve the quality. New technologies, digitalization makes it possible to create path tracking databases. For higher education, we created it already in Hungary, so we know from each faculty where our students are coming out, how fast they are finding a job for them, how much they will earn. So on this basic, we can evaluate these education agencies, these institutions. What I saw in Israel just a week ago, that there are adult education companies who monitor market needs, skills, who scout talents who are capable of learning what they want to teach. They teach them, they finance their education, and they place them. So they do everything. I mean, here in this case, governments can only play a part as a quality controller, as you also said, that Szilárd, that you know, why to teach somebody how to create a nice bunch of flowers? You should then move out if that's all your capabilities are. The third thing, you talked about that you cannot stop technology coming in, and you shouldn't destroy or seize companies like Uber and Airbnb. Yeah, we don't want to seize them. Actually, we want to make them to have the same regulations and consumer protection rules as other companies in the same industry are having. And we want their competitors to use the same technology, what they are using, and we want them to pay taxes. So what governments can do here, governments can create benchmarks for companies similar to Uber or Airbnb, what kind of APIs they are using, what kind of SDKs are using. Actually, the taxi companies, most of the taxi companies in Hungary are now using the same technology as Uber is using, but they have different consumer protection rules. So third thing was to provide benchmarks for companies. So that's how you can educate the companies to new technologies. Fourth, you make these companies to pay taxes, because the fifth is to upgrade your infrastructure, as you mentioned. But the problem is now in the world that Apple pays 0.6% corporate tax after its total profit, total value added. I mean, that's nothing. The problem is that governments doesn't have enough money to upgrade their infrastructures, because these monies are in tax havens, as Paradise Papers and Panama Papers are saying. I know that I'm talking a lot, but I hope you enjoy it. I'm at the fifth point, and I have two more. The sixth, so the fifth was to upgrade infrastructure, which we totally agree, and we spend in these 10 years from 2010 until 2020, 10,000 Hungarian forints on basic infrastructure, education, health, roads, rails, and information infrastructure, and another 300 billion Hungarian forints, which is a very little part of it on sports infrastructure. The sixth is to create digital showcases, as I mentioned in my presentation, to sensitize the people, the citizens. And the seventh is to give not unconditional benefits, but conditional pro-education benefits to people who then can participate in adult education, which is run by market forces and approved by governments.
I think there is an agreement in the panel that, yeah, government and market forces has to cooperate very well. I've seen Szilárd making lots of notes. I couldn't read it, so can you share it with us?
I can't read it neither. Okay, so 3 points from my side is how to change how to develop the necessary workforce. Is one point is there must be a strategy on a governmental level that considers all the long-run terms or long-run conditions, what will happen in 5 or 10 years or 20 years in the economy, and try to predict and try to educate or prepare for the new skills. And if you don't know exactly what to educate, then let the pupils learn how to learn and how to adapt to the changes, how to gather information and be able to learn the new skills in 2 or 20 years. That is the only thing that you can give the students. The second thing is learning on your own way. It was never so easy and so cheap. If you go to the internet, then you find a lot of cheap or a greatest university platform where you can learn whatever you want. Go to Coursera, go to Udemy or several other topics, and you can learn programming, you can learn big data, you can learn economic psychology, everything what you want. And in several cases, people tell me, yes, but everything is in English, so I don't understand. But you can even learn English there. So people should use this opportunity, because in the future it will be much more important, the self-education. And if people are not trained to self-education, we will lose them. Another topic is the dual education. It is quite important. It is something in direction cooperation between government and companies. But the current dual education system should be made much more attractive for the companies, because it has not reached the break-even point where we say as a company that it is the best solution for us and we would like to participate. We would like to participate, but it is still not attractive for us.
Excellent, thank you. Very good round. when I have discussed what are we going to talk about with the panelists, there was a bunch of questions which was around the V4 countries. So I have a double question for our panelists. That what do you think are the differences between the Visegrad 4 countries? The differences on this area. And what are the differences between Western Europe and this region? And I do not want to be boring, but I really would like to start with John again.
So being English, I should be able to answer this one. It was interesting, actually, when Laszlo put up the chart of OECD digital literacy. And, you know, Ireland were the winners. You know, Ireland were kind of off the scale, the most Western country in Europe, apart from Portugal, and the place where Apple moved their European headquarters so as not to pay tax. So I wonder if there's any correlation there between digital literacy and not paying your corporate income tax. But no, that's maybe a different discussion. I think the Visegrad 4, and particularly Central and Eastern Europe, if we open it up, you know, so if we include Romania, but particularly the Baltics, Estonia, a very digital country, we have a good skills basis. We have a lot of advantages. We're strong in engineering, mathematics. Traditionally, Hungary has a disproportionate number of Nobel Prize winners, a lot of good inventions, but we've also kept our industrial heritage. So Czech Republic, very industrialized country, strong automotive sector here in Hungary as well. So in terms of driving, certainly for GE, the digital industrial, this should be the right place. And one advantage over Western Europe, I think Laszlo mentioned as well, or Szilárd, is our cost competitive from a salary perspective. It's not going to last forever. I mean, all of us who are earning money hope it's not going to last forever, but it's there at the moment as a good advantage. So the question for me is kind of more, why are we at the bottom of that OECD chart? Because, you know, we should have advantages. I see certain differences between the countries, but probably more similarities. So Czech Republic is quite close, both geographically, but also kind of culturally to Germany. So wages are slightly higher. There's probably closer links to Germany. And, you know, Poland is a huge country with large infrastructural challenges, so a lot of investment required. But by the same token, it's attracted, over the last couple of funding cycles, a lot of investment from the EU. You know, so the East-West highway has now been completed, and you can drive from Wrocław to Berlin kind of non-stop. So that infrastructure upgrade is there. Romania has the highest 4G circuit around Bucharest in Europe. It's got the highest internet in Europe. So some of our infrastructure is there. I think the challenge for us, and particularly for the Visegrad 4, is how to build more on our similarities. You know, we have a kind of very similar culture. We have some historical differences, but we probably have more historical similarities than differences in terms of how we behave. I think Western Europe it had a head start, you know, several decades head start. But I think that gives us the opportunity to leapfrog in terms of technological advances. And we were just talking before of an example from outside digital where, you know, we used to make all the buses in the ex-Soviet Union. Ikarus used to make in a factory about 300 meters from my house. But instead of upgrading to clean diesel and going through the cycle that, you know, France and UK went to improve their buses, we stayed with Ikarus buses until a couple of years ago. And now we have the opportunity to go straight to hybrid technology and leapfrog that technology. So I think we need to do the same in the digital world.
Excellent. Thank you. Tamás, being at Siemens, very international, looking at all the countries, what we just touched, what is your experience with the V4 countries and Western Europe?
From Siemens' point of view, the situation is quite clear that Czech Republic and Poland is in a different league, comparing Slovakia and Hungary, so they are bigger regarding industry. But if I see the details within industry, Hungary has a good chance about process automation. I'm talking about chemical, pharmaceutical activities, where we have traditional companies, old big companies, and they are quite innovative companies as well. And it's I think it's an added value of Hungary. But comparing the V4 with other sectors, so these countries are quite strong in case of industries. And sorry, but I'm thinking about Hungary, and it's also an advantage for us that we are not so big as an industry, but we are quite strong regarding the research and development and IT background. So this is why big companies like Siemens has more than 1,000 people just softwaring and testing and researching, because the basic is probably quite good in these countries. And if you compare, we don't have to think about India or these kind of Asian countries to resource this kind of IT activities to there, because the quality is higher. For the German companies, this kind of quality is much more important. Of course, Indian companies are very competitive, but the quality difference is still alive, and it's a big advantage for us.
Excellent. Thank you. May I ask the panelists to keep something to 1 minute per answer, because I still have one more question to you, and then I would like to give a chance to the audience for a question and answer section. So, regarding S&T, what do you see as a difference on the markets of these countries?
Yeah, so honestly speaking, I cannot see too much differences or too many differences in the Visegrad 4 countries, actually. We are working a lot on a lot of projects when that are very, very similar, I would say. In fact, it is one of the major goals of the group, that to use and leverage on those similarities. Of course, there are customers and there are companies on different level of digitalization, as I've shown in the presentation, but I don't think it's related to the borders. It's related to the innovation potential of the given customer, maybe some past thing, but otherwise I can see very innovative things in Slovakia, in Hungary, in Czech Republic, in Poland, and I think from this point of view, the interesting challenge would be, again, regardless of the borders, that I can see that the customers, especially in the manufacturing, there is a gap started to appear between companies who are able to change, who are leapfrogging, as you mentioned. There are a few of those, and there are some companies who are still conservative. And maybe from this point of view, Hungary may be a little bit more conservative. Czech Republic, in my experience, is a little bit more innovative from this point of view, but it's only a slight difference, and I'm not a researcher, so it's only my personal experience. But again, I think I see more similarities than differences between the V4 countries.
Got it. Thank you. What is the artificial intelligence point of view?
Yeah, I really kind of been sorry I don't have my artificial intelligence assistant with me, because I was looking for the OECD research you mentioned, John and Laszlo, and I analyzed that research when it came out, and I remember actually Czech Republic was doing very well in that research. And when we analyzed it, we figured out it was not thanks to the school. You know, when we correlated the figures, it didn't just add up together. So the kids have very good skills, actually, at least according to one research I've seen from OECD on the digital skills of kids. But it was not thanks to the school, and this brings me what can be done and what might be, differences we can build on. Basically, as this change is happening, we have great opportunity, and even very small countries, and we are not even small countries, we are medium-sized countries. If they are able to capitalize on the new technologies, we could move very quickly. And I clearly see several paths we could go forward. One is using the multinationals we have here, and who are kind of advanced in certain areas, to cooperate much more with the governments and with the local SMEs, but not only with the production sector, but as well with the research SMEs like us. To develop new solutions, and here is one of the points Laszlo was making. we should be much more flexible in terms of financing this kind of like leapfrogging research and leapfrogging activities. DARPA is a great example, but even that is quite bureaucratic. We could do much better if we wanted, and it's up to us kind of like to sit around the table and to decide how the things could look like in terms of delivering much quicker. As well, I think we should really kind of much more bring to the attention of the people the issue of the change. Because if we do not create urgency, the politicians will not move ahead. And we can maybe, you know, discuss that for 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I would also focus on rather on similarities and not differences.
We for countries in Western Europe.
Yes, yes. Actually, as Thomas Piketty said, and his co-authors, Sayers and Zuckman, that we are foreign-owned economies. And most of the research and development and digitalization and big data analysis development is going on in the Western economies primarily. So when I ask some multinational companies here in Hungary, where is your data? Oh, it's in Bavaria, it's in, I don't know, Toulouse or wherever. And there we can already see that there's 99% of the companies and 1% on the top. And this 1% is emerging exponentially because they have the data, they have the better algorithms. From those algorithms, they have better data from those better algorithms. And it will be a kind of an economic policy issue that economic policies will have to provide in semi-public, semi-market-led way, that data somehow also stays here and helps the small and medium-sized enterprises as well. I see it as a joint challenge of the Visegrad 4 countries.
So we have to understand that Hungary is a small country, and it is a fact. And therefore, the Hungarian innovation efforts are, if they stay here within the country, then they will serve only a small market. We have 10 million people, and we have this strange Hungarian language. And if they want to make the big deal, then they have to aim for foreign markets and foreign countries. And that's why several Hungarian startups have already a footprint in California or maybe in China, because there is the music playing. And so our chance here in Hungary is to make the incubation or the innovation here in the country, and then try to utilize, of course, here in the country, but try to do it also in the US or in Western Europe. And unfortunately, it is already happening, but not this way exactly, because we have lost a lot of know-how and manpower and also service providers to the US or to Western European countries. So Hungarian people are quite successful outside of the borders.
Excellent, thank you. What I plan to do now is one more round of questions, and then hand over a mic to the audience for a Q&A. And this time I would like to start with Peter. You remember that there was a portfolio matrix of the different technologies. So my question would be to the panelists, just to name one area, which is the hottest technology area of the portfolio of the Industry 4.0 and the digitization. Just to name the one which comes first into your mind, which is the hottest one. Peter.
Not easy to answer because there are different types of answers. One is what is the sexiest one, I would say. The second is what is the most useful one. And the third is what is the one we are implementing the most right now.
Oh, what is the best business?
Yeah. And the first one which came to mind was predictive anything. Maintenance mainly in practice, or at least in Hungary and the region, from the technological point of view. And the second one is anything which is related to optimizing manufacturing, like MES, like scheduling, like anything like that. Mm-hmm. But again, I mentioned that there are different customers and different maturity levels. So the milk factory, even showing what is happening in the factory. It is very, very important and very easy, not sexy, but still very popular. But predictive. If I have to say one thing, it's predictive.
That's clear and to the point. Thank you. Marek? Artificial intelligence, definitely.
I don't know, actually. Of course, it's artificial intelligence, but we don't know really. What we see is that the potential of the technology is huge, and it will be applied all across the board. There might be different steps in these applications, and I take this opportunity to say one thing. If we see now like analysis which says there is not 20 or 30% of IT jobs will not be fulfilled, I think we should not too much concentrate on it, because the programs, they will be able to actually develop themselves. You know, the AI will be programming instead of the people much more. So one programmer will be able actually to carry out the work now of hundreds of current programmers. So this will change. So we should not be too much, focused on these like really short-term things. In terms of short-term, on the other hand, coming back is, of course, it's prediction of various things. One is predicting the physical world, so this is back to manufacturing. The second, which is very close to my heart because I'm a behavior economist, is behavior of people. And we are using it. Finance is a great example, and we will see many, many more uses in the future.
Excellent.
Short-term future, this one.
Excellent, thank you. That's the hottest technology, in your view. What is the hottest technology, in your view, in digitization or Industry 4.0 in the next couple of years?
I would pass the microphone to the audience to have their questions on us.
I still would like to have you. Okay. See that? No worries. See that?
I will surprise you. Robots, and industrial robots, and everything that is related to robotics. We are helping the economy to maintain the competitiveness, and we are helping people to be able to perform human work, because nobody, no parent would like for their children to be a line worker, assembly worker. Hey, my son, please be a line worker, because that's a great thing. Nobody wants to plan this, but several people are working in this. We are helping to get rid of this non-human work and to do something more that makes us human.
Excellent, thank you. Tamás, from Siemens' point of view, hottest technology you see?
Maybe my answer is a bit strange, but my first idea is the e-mobility and self-driving cars. Not because of the technology, it's quite basic for us, battery systems and self-driving, because of the time management. So I am really waiting this period because I like driving cars, but I don't have time to drive cars. So it would be nice to leave earlier the office, because I know there is a 20 or 30 minutes and I can continue the work in the car because I don't have to drive so the time management point of view is very important.
And has the biggest impact on the society. Yeah. And last but not least, John,
Yeah, so I agree with Peter. Definitely at the moment, predictive asset performance management. I think it's probably because that's our strategy as a software company to focus on that product. So we're a $6 billion software company. So that's kind of short to mid-term. But it also drives a whole load of other stuff. So once you've collected the data and ingested and created that data pool, you can start driving machine learning and really useful artificial intelligence. But because we're dealing with assets as a company, that's like the basic first step.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you. Very good round. So I would like to pass the rights of questions to you. I see one hand already here. My strategy would be we take one or two questions, maybe three, in a couple of minutes' time, and then we can continue that during the lunch break if it is okay for you. Yeah. So I think the lady here, can we get a mic for her? Yes. And if you want to have the answer from one of the particular panelists, then please mention.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to ask everybody who is sitting there. I know that information security and audit is important because I get about every fortnight, a position offer to my students. I teach it for 20 years at the Buda University. I would like to ask you and I know that programming is also very important because everybody is looking for programmers. What else? I would like to ask you, what is the subject that you think we should teach, or if we are already teaching it, what is the most important? Thank you.
Okay, should we go around? What should be taught? So the subjects, one or two subjects. And it was related to IT, your question, if I understood correctly. So what do you think if you ask Peter again, as he was the one who mentioned that SNT is coming from IT industry and moving over the... Of course. So should we get around? Asking John first then. Okay, John, please.
Okay, so I've got some opinions on this. I think that apart from programming, so you mentioned programming and security, I think it's interesting after 20 years in IT, I'm still looking for the same skills as I was looking for 20 years ago, basically SAP, Java, ERP, but mainly SAP. So the programming we're looking for is Java, JavaScript, quite basic. It's almost like an Esperanto type language. I'm a linguist by my profession, so it's not difficult to learn this stuff. It's really not. But I totally agree with what Tomasz said earlier, that communication as a skill is essential to IT. And this is often overlooked because we think of IT people as programming. It's not true. We need to communicate all the time. We need to communicate to our business stakeholders, why are we doing this stuff? What are the benefits it will bring? Communication skills are slightly overlooked in today's society because I don't know about you guys with teenage kids, but mine are locked in their room online the whole time. So the kind of face-to-face interaction is very important. And then there's another area around kind of methodology, which is important. So we have a legacy, which is a very deep legacy of kind of Prince 2 waterfall type project management, which has been proven over the last few decades to fail. You know, it doesn't deliver benefits on time, it delivers over cost, and it usually leaves you with a very annoyed customer. So, you know, we're moving to an agile, customer feedback driven continuous improvement loop, which is not rocket science, but anyone over the age of like 30, 35 has got a legacy of this waterfall, which we have an opportunity in education to break out of by teaching a kind of very basic agile type approach to our new generation so that they won't be dragged down by this legacy. So those 3 or 4 things, I would say.
Yeah. May I ask the panelists just to name the subjects and then one thought, because just getting under very, very precious what you're saying.
Just pick on what John said. Communication, but I would have a little bit different spin on it, and it would be in terms of people should understand the data. There's kind of like a basic human misunderstanding of data when we see it, and I think we could really work much better on it in terms of like ordinary people, so not the data scientists, but kind of like ordinary people, be it like the consultants and be it people as a customers. And this would help us to kind of understand each other and understand the machines much better, and that would help.
I would have a comment here. I think that Marek mentioned that he's a behavioral economist as well. So the behavior science and the ethical approach to technology, to automation, I mean, that really is a topic that we should analyze. I mean, there's an autonomous vehicle and maybe an accident is inevitable. Who to kill? I mean, those 2 pensioners in the bus stop, or that lady with a kid. I mean, so there are issues that we still didn't raise. So this is an answer to your question as well, which are the hottest topics in technology.
Oh, yes.
I think the legislative part is still a very, very much open question, if you agree.
Okay, Szilárd?
maybe just one remark for the education or academic education. I think it would be very important that you don't let the students finish the university before they are really ready. Because my experience is that several informatics students leave the universities after the first or second year because the market pressure is so high that they are demanded and they can already earn a huge money with their basic knowledges. But it will be a big lack in the future in 5 or 10 years, because we need people who understand data, who understand IT infrastructure, architecture, and because to code, to program, you can learn it in half a year, but we need guys and ladies who understand it really and spend 5 years on the university.
I see the agreement there. Peter, Tamás?
Maybe just one short comment that, of course, the programming is very important, but at the same time, the time management and the project management it's also very important, because there are deadlines, the time is running, so it's a very, very important point. And the one additional thing is that the mobile application, so thinking about this, it's also very important, because in the future, as now, although the smartphones and this kind of applications running apps, it's also very important.
I wanted to start with you, but you had last one.
Yeah. So mostly all the skills I would said is already mentioned, so I would only highlight data science. It's very important, I think, nowadays. And the second is, and I would opt in, is that anything which is about cooperation and anything which is about communication, especially listening. The guys who are coming out of the university and who we are working with are not that good at that. Not in teamwork, and also not very good in listening. They have the ideas, they're doing things, but usually not based on the data they are getting from the customer, not from the input, not based on the inputs, but based on their own ideas, which is in most of the cases not the best.
Excellent, thank you. If you don't mind that, since we are quite over our time, I would like to encourage you to catch the panelists and then ask all the other questions what you wanted to have later on. And I asked the panelists not to rush out of the room. Just please be around and let the audience ask questions from you. But honestly, I deeply knew that we have got so many topics and we have got such great panelists with excellent background that this is not something a 40 minutes panel discussion, it's rather a whole day workshop, but we cannot enter into that. So this time I would like to thank for your attention and thanks for being with us. And thank you very much for our panelists to taking the time and sharing the excellent thoughts with us. And please be available for the audience questions later on down here. Thank you very much. Thank you.